Tatsuya is a good-for-nothing loser who is always overshadowed by his talented sister, Miyuki. However, everything changes when they enroll in a magic school where everyone considers him weak, until he reveals that he has godlike magic abilities and can clap everyone on the battlefield and in the bedroom. It all starts in April with Miyuki and Tatsuya going at each other's throats as part of their sibling banner routine, and Miyuki's pissed off because despite her big bro Tatsuya acing the theory exams with record-breaking scores like a nerd, his practical results were so mid that he got dumped into Course 2. The first magic school has a caste system where Course 1 students are called blooms, and Course 2 gets the delightful nickname of weeds, whose only purpose is to fill in for the blooms in case destiny decides to give them malevolent backshots. Tatsuya just shrugs it off like he's ordering coffee, and Miyuki runs off to prep for her opening ceremony speech since she was the star newbie. While passing time before the opening ceremony, some Course 1 losers walk by and call Tatsuya a weed, but he is used to the discrimination by now. Just then, the student council president named Mayumi spawns out of nowhere like a rare Pokemon and starts a convo with Tatsuya. She belongs to one of the most influential families of magicians, all represented by a number, but she acts all impressed by Tatsuya's exam scores being literally off the charts. However, the idiot gives baddie Mayumi the cold shoulder and walks off for the ceremony. There, the school's auditorium screams segregation with Course 1 and 2 students sitting separately like some magical apartheid. Tatsuya parks himself in the back where he meets Mizuki and Erika, and Mizuki's got these special eyes that can see auras, which makes Tatsuya nervous thinking about her sensing his lack of hose. Miyuki delivers her freshman representative speech that somehow manages to be controversial yet well-received, and after discovering they're all in Class E, Miyuki gets jealous seeing her big bro hanging with girls, but eventually warms up to his new friends. When Mayumi approaches again, she decides to bounce once she sees Miyuki has plans, which pisses off the Course 1 student something fierce. Back home, Miyuki goes full domestic mode, insisting on hand-making Tatsuya's coffee instead of using their household automation, being mad liberal with her outfit choices at home while fussing over her brother like he's made of glass. The next morning, they head to Tatsuya's martial arts training at what's basically a ninja temple, and his master Yakumo is an ancient magic ninjutsu expert who gets his kicks sneaking up on Miyuki like a creepy old fart. Tatsuya and Yakumo spar while Miyuki uses magic for the cleanup afterward. Later, on the train to school, Miyuki mentions their father called to congratulate her on getting into first high, but the catch was that he completely ignored Tatsuya, which sends Miyuki into such an emotional spiral that her magic starts going haywire. Tatsuya has to calm her down before she accidentally freezes the entire train car, telling her that he was used to acting fatherless and cringe. Their father sees Tatsuya as nothing more than a tool, and he's salty because Tatsuya chose school over working at the family company. School life kicks into gear as Tatsuya meets Leonhard, who everyone calls Leo, and their homeroom teacher, Haruka. During lunch, Miyuki rushes over to eat with Tatsuya's crew, but her Course 1 classmates lose their minds over their precious princess, slumming it up with the weeds. The afternoon gets spicy when Miyuki tries to leave with Tatsuya, and her classmates literally try to block her path. And things escalate further when Morisaki pulls out his casting automation device, CAD for short, on Leo. Erika casually disarms him like she's taking candy from a baby. Hanoka tries to cast a spell but gets shut down by student council members Mari and Mayumi before anyone can commit magical hate crimes. Tatsuya drops some elite ball knowledge by revealing he can actually read activation sequences during a cast, smoothing things over so that nobody gets expelled. Morisaki refuses to thank Tatsuya and storms off like a bratty second grader. Hanoka and Shizuku introduce themselves and apologize before asking to join the group heading home. The next day brings an invitation to the student council room from Mayumi herself. The siblings meet the full council, including Mari, Suzuna, and Azusa. The vice president Hattori gets mentioned, but he's conveniently absent, and over lunch, Mayumi explains how the student council and public morals committee work. She invites Miyuki to join the student council, and when Miyuki requests Tatsuya come too, they hit a roadblock. School regulations specifically ban Course 2 students from the student council because the outcast swag wasn't enough to make the cut. Mari suggests Tatsuya join the Public Morals Committee instead, and despite his objections, Mayumi just assigns him there anyway like a helicopter mommy. After a practical class, where Tatsuya contemplates rejecting the committee offer, they head back to the student council room to meet the infamous Hattori, who was the council's vice president. The pretentious loser immediately shows his true colors by completely ignoring Tatsuya and only acknowledging Miyuki, and Mari tries to escort Tatsuya to the Public Morals headquarters, but Hattori can't keep his mouth shut about how a weed could never manage the blooms. Miyuki snaps and declares Tatsuya wouldn't lose to anyone in real combat. When Hattori criticizes her outburst, Tatsuya's had enough and challenges him to a mock battle to defend his cutie pie sister's Charukar. The duel happens and it's over faster than a try not to cringe TikTok. Hattori gets bodied and knocked unconscious instantly. Everyone except Miyuki is shook because they just witnessed a weed give malevolent backshots to one of the school's top 5 fighters. When Mari asks if Tatsuya used acceleration magic, Miyuki explains that it was pure ninjutsu technique. They discuss his CAD being a silver horn with loop casting technology developed by the mysterious engineer Taurus Silver. To add to the number of jaws dropped, Hattori wakes up and apologizes to Miyuki like a decent human being. After witnessing the state of the Public Morals Committee headquarters, Tatsuya goes full Marie Kondo and cleans the entire place, and he officially joins the committee alongside Murasaki. That evening, Tatsuya's in his basement lab working on CADs when Miyuki visits wanting her device tuned. She needs spells for quick neutralization with minimal damage, so Tatsuya needs her measurements. Miyuki strips down to her birthday suit for the process, but Tatsuya remains completely professional, which somehow makes her jealous about his interactions with the baddie upperclassmen. She literally attacks him with magic and knocks him unconscious, but his regeneration ability kicks in, and Miyuki apologizes for going overboard. The next morning reveals Miyuki couldn't sleep because she's dealing with sus romantic feelings for her brother, though their blood relation and family situation make everything complicated. She wants to save him from their family's BS. After classes, Tatsuya agrees to check out clubs with Erika while on patrol duty as the club recruitment week arrives, and it's chaos. Mari explains that everyone's desperate to recruit the best members for the 9 schools competition later in the year. She arms Tatsuya with 2 CADs and sends him out on patrol while Murasaki's being his usual belligerent self about everything. Tatsuya meets up with Erika outside, where club recruiters immediately start causing problems. When Erika gets in trouble, Tatsuya helps her escape, though she ends up disheveled and he accidentally sees her underwear situation while peeking at her melons. She kicks him for it, and her eyes water from pain. But he doesn't feel anything because his pain sensitivity is basically non-existent, like a nonchalant wannabe Sigma. They watch the Kendo Club's demonstration, which gets interrupted when someone named Takeaki and the Kenjutsu Club show up starting drama. He challenges Kendo member Sayaka, and after she annihilates him, Kirihara completely loses it and uses magic to turn his wooden practice blade into an actual sword for a real attack. Tatsuya jumps between them using both CADs to cancel Kirihara's magic and pin him down before anyone can blink, and then he calls for backup and a stretcher. The rest of the Kenjutsu Club gets big mad and attacks him en masse. Despite being outnumbered, Tatsuya defeats them all with minimal effort, and the kendo captain, Tsukasa, becomes fascinated by Tatsuya's magic nullifying abilities. After reporting to Mayumi, Mari, and the club's management chairman, Jumonji Katsuto, the Public Morals Committee decides to drop the matter and let Jumonji handle it. Later, at a cafe, the group discusses the incident where Miyuki explains that Tatsuya specializes in counter magic and used cast jamming to stop the attacks. Tatsuya goes nerd mode and breaks down the technical aspects of cast jamming and the 8 types of magic plus 3 exceptions. Erika mentions cast jamming requires anti-night, a heavily restricted military resource. Tatsuya admits he used a mock version and explains why he keeps this knowledge secret. Later, the fallout begins as Course 1 students start intentionally attacking Tatsuya over the Kenjutsu Club defeat, while others run interference to prevent their capture. A mysterious attacker with a tricolored wristband makes an attempt before fleeing. Tatsuya's become famous throughout the school for his recruitment week exploits, causing major buzz with the huzz about how a Course 2 student could dominate. Course 1 fighters. While walking Miyuki to the student council, Sayaka asks to speak with him privately. They agree to meet in the cafeteria after he escorts Miyuki, but Miyuki worries that once Tatsuya's true power gets discovered, people will use him for selfish reasons and she would have less freaky time with her bro. During their meeting, Sayaka tries recruiting Tatsuya to the kendo club, but he declines. She discusses the school's discrimination between courses and asks about his long-term goals regarding the inequality and how he was called irregular. Later, during lunch with the student council members, the conversation shifts to Blanche, an international anti-magic political organization that seems to be manipulating students. Tatsuya agrees to investigate since he's worried Miyuki might become a target for the Muggles. The counselor Haruka summons Tatsuya for a meeting, requesting his help as a case study for monitoring student mental trends. She also addresses unfounded rumors about Sayaka, asking him out. Tatsuya suspects she has concerns about Sayaka's involvement with troublemakers. At home, the siblings discuss Blanche and the systemic discrimination in the magical world. Tatsuya warns that if things continue escalating, the 10 master clans will intervene, especially the Yotsuba clan. So they need to be extra careful about how they approach matters from there on out. In his practical skills class, Tatsuya struggles and needs 3 attempts to clear the course. Mizuki comments on how he's being unfairly evaluated, despite clearly having skills. And she notices he could invoke simple spells much faster since he does not seem to need activation sequences, which makes Tatsuya nervous about what else she might observe. During lunch later with the extended group, Miyuki demonstrates her abilities with intimidating results, though she's humbled by the poor equipment software slowing her down. After school, Tatsuya meets with Sayaka again to discuss her plans, but she doesn't seem to have concrete goals beyond yapping about the ongoing discrimination. 1 week later, someone hijacks the PA system, demanding to speak with the student council about ending discrimination. Student officials gather outside the barricaded broadcast room. Tatsuya takes control of the situation, and the culprits get apprehended. But Mayumi orders their release and agrees to negotiations as opposition forces rally support for the upcoming debate. When Tatsuya sees Mizuki getting harassed by Tsukasa, he steps in to help. Getting super sus about Tsukasa's behavior, the Shiba siblings visit Master Cook Harukai, who reveals Tsukasa has a stepbrother leading Blanche's Japanese branch, and he casually mentions finding nothing when he investigated the siblings like a clingy ex-turned-stalker. The forum day arrives with Mayumi dominating the debate, and she states her position on the discrimination issue and vows to use the assembly to abolish regulations preventing Course 2 students from joining the student council when she steps down. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the building and students wearing Blanche armbands spring into action before getting apprehended when someone fires a grenade into the auditorium. The school is officially under an unexpected terrorist attack, and Hattori quickly suppresses the gas grenade while Mari subdues the armed terrorists rushing the auditorium. Tatsuya and Miyuki investigate the explosions and find Leo under attack. Miyuki takes down all 3 attackers instantly as Erika arrives with Leo's CAD. Their teacher Haruka appears with intel and asks them to go easy on Sayaka, but Tatsuya refuses and heads out to handle business. At the library, a massive melee battle unfolds outside. Using elemental sight to scout the building, Tatsuya coordinates their assault while Erika and Miyuki take down terrorists and rebel students. In the reference room, they find confused Sayaka with terrorists stealing research data. Tatsuya destroys their hacking tools and storage devices instantly. When a terrorist tries shooting Tatsuya, Miyuki freezes the gun solid. They give Sayaka a harsh reality check about the situation before the remaining terrorists get stopped. In the foyer, Erika confronts the escaping Sayaka. They engage in combat with Sayaka using cast jamming and recognizing Mari's fighting style. The duel continues until Sayaka's weapon breaks. Erika orders her to pick up a sword, and after Sayaka discards her anti-knight, they resume fighting. Erika breaks Sayaka's arm and explains she oversaw Mari's certification, praising Sayaka for forcing Ichiba to fight seriously before Sayaka passes out. With all of the terrorists subdued, Tatsuya carries the unconscious Sayaka to the nurse's office while Tsukasa attempts to flee, but gets stopped by some disciplinary committee members. In the nurse's office, the committee leaders question Sayaka about everything leading to this point, and after her explanation, Tatsuya proposes launching a counterattack on the terrorists with the intention to annihilate them. Following a quick debate, the eavesdropping Haruka-sensei provides intel on the terrorist base. The strike team consists of the Shiba siblings, Erika, Leo, and Jumonji. As Jumonji heads to his car, Kirihara convinces him to allow his participation. Leo uses fortification magic, reinforcing the vehicle for their assault. They split into 3 teams. Shiba siblings take the front entrance, Jumonji and Kirihara the rear, while Leo and Erika secure the gate. The Shib siblings encounter the main terrorist force led by Tsukasa Hajime. Tatsuya offers some lax surrender terms, but Tsukasa attempts magical brainwashing instead. When it fails, Tsukasa flees with Tatsuya pursuing while Miyuki neutralizes the remaining terrorists. Tatsuya runs into an ambush, where the terrorists use excessive anti-night for cast jamming, tipping him off about their sponsors. He neutralizes everyone except Tsukasa, and Kirihara arrives and cuts off Tsukasa's arm, but Jumonji stops him from going further. The Jumonji clan handles cleanup with the police while students get excused due to all of Blanche's brainwashing tactics. Tatsuya spoils the upset and bratty Miyuki to cheer her up after she went overboard during the fight. In May, Sayaka gets released from the hospital and the Shib siblings visit her alongside Kirihara and Erika. Tatsuya chats with Sayaka's father, who thanks him and mentions the Major, who happened to be their mutual acquaintance. Upon rejoining the others, Erika teases the new couple, Sayaka and Kirihara. As they return to school, Miyuki and Tatsuya walk hand in hand discussing their school life. Sometime later, Tatsuya walks out of the student guidance room to find his entire friend group waiting like they caught him with his pants down. The teachers had summoned him because they were suspicious about his intentionally horrendous practical exam scores when his theory results are literally breaking records. Meanwhile, the first semester results drop, and Miyuki's sitting pretty at number 1 overall, while Tatsuya dominated theory by margins that should not be humanly possible. The bossed-up nerds and their friends hit up the cafeteria to discuss the upcoming 9 Schools competition, where things look rough this year because Ichiju Masaki from the 10 Master Clans is representing 3rd High. The renowned dude was basically magical royalty, so First High's chances of a chicken dinner just got significantly worse. Back at the Public Morals Committee headquarters, Mari drops some intel about the competition while Tatsuya updates some records. Despite having a handful of powerhouse magicians, victory isn't guaranteed because they're severely lacking CAD engineers, as it turns out that having skilled tech support is just as important as having talented fighters if you want to slay in the magical world. After school, the Shiba siblings head to Yakumo's temple for Miyuki's Mirage Bat training. The session gets interrupted when Tatsuya spots Haruka lurking in the shadows like some bootleg Naruto. She reveals she's also Yakumo's student and works as a public safety investigator, plus she is a born specialized magician who specializes in stealth, which explains the creepy hiding skills on par with Dish Haruka Red 2 speedrunners. She asks Tatsuya to keep her identity secret in exchange for intel about future trouble. During his PE class, Tatsuya is playing leg ball and notices his teammate Mikihiko is way better than his risless and nerdy appearance lets on. Despite being a part of Course 2, Mikihiko ranks 3rd in written exams, and he's a direct descendant of the Yoshida clan, which was mad famous for its ancient magic expertise. The kid's clearly hiding his true abilities behind thick glasses and a hoe-less demeanor. Class 1E crushes Class 1 F80, and afterward, Tatsuya and Leo introduce themselves to Mikihiko. He insists they call him by his first name since he hates being called Yoshida, and when Erika and Mizuki show up, Erika calls him Miki, which annoys him. She mentions his surname issue, and Mikihiko gets visibly agitated before storming off, muttering about some past accident. Then, it was student council lunch meeting time, where Mayumi mentions their CAD engineer shortage problem. Azusa, who's the best second-year CAD engineer, recommends Tatsuya after witnessing his skills maintaining Miyuki's equipment. Mari and Mayumi jump on this idea enthusiastically like horned-up fangirl groupies, but Tatsuya points out the trust issues. Having a Course 2 first year as their engineer would negatively impact the other students' confidence. While he's making perfectly reasonable objections, Miyuki suddenly declares she wants Tatsuya maintaining her CAD during the competition, and it was game over before the loading screen could even go away, so he reluctantly agrees to join as CAD engineer. With their lunch break almost over, Tatsuya decides to do some CAD maintenance. Azusa spots his device, and they discuss Silver Series CADS by Four Leaves Technology, plus the mystery surrounding Taurus Silver's identity. When Mayumi reminds Azusa about her homework on why flying-type magic development has failed, the group reviews a recent England experiment that had flopped worse than KSY's song. Mayumi asks Tatsuya's thoughts on the matter, and he surprises everyone with an in-depth, technical explanation of why it failed. After school, the 9 schools' competition representatives gather for a meeting where some students question Tatsuya's provisional addition to technical staff. So Jumonji suggests a practical test, and Kirihara volunteers as the guinea pig. Tatsuya gags everyone when he demonstrates professional grade skills calibrating Kirihara's CAD, earning really strong support from Azusa, Hattori, and Jumonji. At home, Major Kazama calls requesting Tatsuya to come and test some equipment. He brings up the competition and warns him that the No-Head Dragon Crime Syndicate might interfere with the event, as criminal organizations betting on magical high school competitions instead of hitting up Vegas is apparently a thing now. Miyuki visits Tatsuya's basement lab to show off her Mirage Bat costume and discovers he's got a prototype magical flight device ready for testing. He asks her to test the flying-type magic in their basement, since their house has a full magical testing facility underground like Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Siblings head to FLT's CAD Development Center, where Tatsuya is revealed to be also known as Silver, half of the legendary Taurus Silver engineering duo. The other half is Director Ushiyama, aka Taurus. Tatsuya hands over the prototype Flight CAD for testing, and the new flying-type magic works perfectly, though it's extremely taxing for normie magicians. While leaving FLT, they encounter their father Tatsuru and the Otsuba clan servant, Aoki. This Aoki guy is openly disrespectful to Tatsuya, calling him a heartless false magician, which pisses off Miyuki. Tatsuya fires back that since his mother Miya and current clan head Maya conducted the experiment that made him this way, Aoki's statement is basically slandering the clan head. Their father tries rebuking Tatsuya, but he states he doesn't hate Miya before leaving with Miyuki, reflecting on his lost emotions. During a special school impromptu assembly, Tatsuya and the other 9 schools' competition representatives receive their ID badges. Later, while contestants train hard, Mizuki waits outside and notices some strange fluctuations. She investigates and finds Mikihiko practicing spirit magic. Surprised, Mikihiko instinctively sends some spirits to attack, but Tatsuya intervenes. They discuss spirit magic, and when Mizuki mentions seeing spirit colors, Mikihiko realizes she has special eyes that would be crucial for using divine spirit magic, and the trio agrees to keep Mizuki's abilities secret. Later, departure day arrives, and Mayumi's over an hour late. She tries flirting with Tatsuya, but he notices she's stressed and tells her to rest on the bus. Kanen and Miyuki complain that their competitors get the nice bus while technical staff rides separately. Suddenly, a car goes out of control and flips over the barrier into their bus's path. Multiple students attempt stopping the incoming car, but their simultaneous spells interfere with each other, creating a cyan storm that makes further magic difficult. Mari tells Jumonji to act, while Miyuki volunteers to handle the flames. As she prepares casting, the cyan storm mysteriously disappears, allowing her to extinguish the fire. Jumonji then stops the car, and Mari suspects that Tatsuya nullified the cyan storm. At the hotel, Hattori feels like a useless bum because Miyuki handled the crisis better despite being younger. Kirihara points out that the siblings are special, bringing up April's terrorist incident where Tatsuya acted like a military veteran and didn't hesitate bringing Miyuki into live combat. Tatsuya tells Miyuki that the crash was not accidental but a toaster bathtub attack. In the lobby, they're surprised finding Erika there. Mizuki, Leo, and Mikihiko are also present due to their family connections getting them accommodations. For the opening ceremony banquet, Tatsuya gets stuck wearing an ill-fitting spare Course 1 uniform jacket with First High's logo. Erika and Mikihiko work as waiters due to their family situations, while other first years are scared to approach Tatsuya, so he asks Miyuki to join them. Meanwhile, Masaki notices Miyuki and asks his friend George about her. Kudu Retsu, known as the world's strongest magician, is supposed to give a speech, but a young woman appears on stage instead. Tatsuya sees through the illusion, realizing Kudo's using subtle magic to fool everyone, and the trick demonstrates that how magic is used matters more than raw strength. After the banquet, freshman girls visit the artificial hot spring where Subaru mentions Ichiju gazing at Miyuki's honkers, though Miyuki didn't notice. Meanwhile, Tatsuya and Kei work in First High's trailer, but as Tatsuya leaves, he senses intruders. Outside, Mikihiko's practicing when his spirits detect malicious intent. Mikihiko and Tatsuya apprehend 3 intruders, and Mikihiko gets upset that he could not handle it alone, but Tatsuya explains that assumption's unrealistic. He mentions Mikihiko's talent isn't the problem, rather his casting speed suffers because his spell formulas need work. After Mikihiko leaves, Major Kazama appears and agrees to handle the captured intruders. Finally, the day of the competition begins with Mayumi participating in speed shooting, easily scoring perfect in the preliminary rounds. Tatsuya explains to his friends that she used multi-scope and dry ice bullets. They then watch Mari in Battleboard, where she dominates using fortification magic and multiple techniques, winning first place in preliminaries. Tatsuya meets Major Kazama and other 101 battalion officers for tea. They confirm last night's intruders were from the No-Head Dragon Group, and discuss how Tatsuya's engineering participation is practically cheating given his goated skills. Kazama warns him against using classified magic if he ever becomes a participant. In the speed shooting finals, Mayumi wins first place using the same strategy with overwhelming power and skill, firing multi-scope shots from different directions. That night, the student council decides to ask Tatsuya to help with tomorrow's crowd ball events, since Hattori's having problems working with his engineer. When Miyuki tells him this, she notices him working on something, and Tatsuya claims that it is just a toy unrelated to the competition. During the crowd ball competition, Mayumi asks if Tatsuya has all the necessary data and gets upset upon discovering he has photographic memory. At the stadium, she asks him to help her stretch and says he's like a younger brother. Mayumi wins her first match by rebounding every ball into her opponent's court until they withdraw from exhaustion. Tatsuya cleans her CAD software between matches, greatly improving efficiency, and after the initial frustration, Mayumi easily wins first place. Second tournament day arrives with the siblings watching Kanan in the pillar break. She defeats her opponent using the family signature minefield magic and advances to round 3. Back at First High's tent, they discover all 3 boys lost in speed shooting, as is shooting blanks into their socks wasn't enough. Tatsuya receives a package from 4 Leaves Technology containing his prototype weapon-integrated CAD design called the Mini Communicator Sword that can magically extend a detachable end. He asks Leo to test it, noting it works for monolith code, but needs more weight to be viable in actual combat. The next day, they watch Mari's Battleboard semi-final against 7th High. The match starts well with both contestants neck and neck, but at the first turn, the 7th High contestant accelerates by mistake, and Mari tries catching her to prevent an accident, but the water suddenly caves in, throwing Mari off balance and causing both to crash into the fence as Tatsuya rushes to help. Mari wakes up later in the infirmary, and due to her injuries, Mayumi tells her she can't participate in Mirage Bat. Mayumi asks if perhaps some magic hindered her during the accident, hinting at third-party interference. So Tatsuya, Miyuki, Kanan, and Kei analyze the footage of the accident in his room. Tatsuya's investigation confirms that magic caused the accident, and Kei discusses the difficulty of performing such interference given the event's security. Tatsuya concludes that the third-party interference used non-human entities. When Mikihiko and Mizuki join the discussion, they explore spirit magic possibilities. Mikihiko confirms spirits could have caused the water caving. Tatsuya states he believes someone on the tournament committee tampered with the 7th High player's CAD during inspections. Afterwards, Mayumi calls a meeting asking Miyuki to replace Mari in the official division for Mirage Bat. On the Rookie Division's first day, Shizuku participates in speed shooting with the nervous Honoka watching, knowing she has her own race that afternoon. Tatsuya engineers for Shizuku, and they discuss CAD tunings that she is very pleased with. While Tatsuya watches for tampering, Shizuku takes the stage. Shizuku's first match awes the audience with her spell, and Honoka explains that she is using active air mine, a form of magic that Tatsuya developed specifically for her. Ichihara explains this to Mari and Mayumi elsewhere in the audience. Shizuku achieves a perfect preliminary score, then switches CADs for a secret plan. Tatsuya confirms the other two freshman girls also passed qualifiers. In her quarterfinal, Shizuku uses a general CAD with aim assist system like a newbie pleb. Her friends discuss the device while Miyuki reveals Tatsuya had made it by hand. Elsewhere, Mayumi, Mari, and Suzune note that AIM-assisted general CADs represent state-of-the-art technology. Shizuku wins with another perfect score, and Mayumi's over the moon that the girls dominated the speed shooting podium positions. Ichihara tells Tatsuya that the University of Magic wants to officially adopt active air mine into its index, and Tatsuya requests that Shizuku's name be listed as the inventor instead of his. In Third High's conference room, the contestants discuss results with Ichiju Masaki noting, First High's girls didn't win on talent alone. George mentions the girls' engineer has extreme talent, particularly noting Shizuku's use of a generalized CAD with aim assistance, technology announced the previous year but with prototypes unfit for use. Ichiju states if First High's engineer is responsible, he's a monster well beyond any school level, making any events that he oversees a bunch of harsh uphill battles. In the battle board preliminaries, Honoka uses Tatsuya's strategy, casting optical magic on the water's surface to blind other participants. Azusa, who couldn't figure out why Honoka had optical sequences on her CAD, is impressed with the strategy nobody had thought of in 9 years. Honoka wins easily with this massive advantage, and after the race, she cries tears of joy thanking Tatsuya for helping her win, practically slobbing on his knob. That night, Tatsuya finds Miyuki waiting in his room late, and she asks about his refusal to have his name in the index. He explains their Yotsuba connections could be exposed during background checks and reminds her that he was her guardian, existing only to protect her. Their aunt wouldn't approve of a guardian emerging from the shadows. He notes he currently can't suppress the entire Yotsuba clan, so must obey, and Miyuki promises she'll always be his ally. Competition's 5th day arrives. Aimi couldn't sleep, so Tatsuya retunes her CAD to compensate. She wins her rookie girls' ice pillar break match, and Shizuku participates in the 5th girls' ice pillar break match, using her data fortification to protect her pillars while attacking with resonance variants. She claps the competitor easily, losing only 1 pillar. The last of First High's competitors is Miyuki, and she casts a rank inferno magic instantly, dominating the field and brutally mogging her opponent for an utterly overwhelming victory that shocks the audience. That night, the freshman girls go ham over Tatsuya's engineering skills, and Morisaki gets angry and storms out of the banquet. Meanwhile, the no-head dragon, trying to ensure Third High's victory, plans their next move. On the 6th day morning, the weirdo siblings find Masaki and George waiting near First High's ready room. They introduce themselves, and Tatsuya sends Miyuki ahead, and they ask if he will oversee the monolith code before leaving. In the ready room, Miyuki believes they came to declare war against Tatsuya's skills and nags him into oblivion for underestimating himself. All 3 of the First High girls win their ice pillar break matches, and Honoka advances to battle board finals. Mayumi informs them the tournament committee offers to let Amy, Shizuku, and Miyuki share first place for the Ice Pillar Break contest, and while Amy wants to withdraw, Shizuku desires competing seriously against Miyuki, and Miyuki accepts the challenge, getting ready to rumble. The girls' Ice Pillar Break final pits Miyuki against Shizuku, and Miyuki opens with Inferno, while Shizuku protects her pillars with Data Fortification and counterattacks with Resonance Destruction. However, Miyuki defends her pillars while Inferno slowly melts Shizuku's, and upon seeing that her tactics aren't effective, Shizuku pulls out a specialized CAD and uses Pach Harukan Maser, damaging Miyuki's pillars for the first time in the whole competition. Though gagged, Miyuki recovers quickly. She casts Niflheim, covering Shizuku's pillars with liquid nitrogen, and recasting Inferno, she forces the nitrogen to expand, destroying all of Shizuku's pillars simultaneously. Honoka comforts the defeated Shizuku, and they join the siblings for lunch afterward. The next day, the other school's competitors watch Tatsuya engineering for Mirage Bat. While Subaru participates in her first match, he reflects on his high school time and how, despite wanting low profile, he keeps getting dragged into situations. He thinks about Miyuki and their unbreakable, intertwining bond. Tatsuya watches rookie Mirage Bat matches as the engineer for Subaru and H. Harukaka, reflecting it's as physically demanding as running a marathon. They win first and second matches respectively, and Tatsuya retires for the day. Later, Tatsuya returns to First High's tent discovering an accident in the second boys' monolith code match. The building collapsed immediately after the match started due to illegal battering ram over attack. Mayumi says Jumonji's negotiating and speaks privately with Tatsuya. She asks if it's reprisal for April. Tatsuya tells her about the break-in and that the criminals are targeting the games. At the Mirage Bat finals, Hanoka and Subaru get head starts thanks to Tatsuya's efficient activation sequences. While in the audience, Azusa overhears the other school's engineers saying Tatsuya's like Taurus Silver. She reflects on everything and begins suspecting he really is Silver. The match ends with a 1-2 First High finish. After the match, Mayumi summons Tatsuya, telling him she wants to win the rookie competition and requests he substitute for the injured First High team. Tatsuya tries talking his way out, but Jumonji forces the issue and he reluctantly agrees. Having agreed to participate in Monolith Code, Tatsuya asks who his teammates are, and, when he is told to choose, he requests Class 1Es, Yoshida, and Leo. Back in his room, the three discuss battle strats, and Tatsuya proposes Leo on defense, himself on offense, and Mikihiko using guerrilla tactics. After confirming victory conditions, Tatsuya tells Leo to use the armament CAD mock-up he made earlier for attacks and fortification magic for defense. Mikihiko discusses his role and how his spells are too verbose. Tatsuya states he'll rearrange spells for efficiency since the camouflaging parts are no longer effective. When Mikihiko gets disheartened about ancient magic being inferior to modern magic, Tatsuya corrects him that modern magic may be faster, but usage matters most and ancient magic is more potent. Mikihiko hands over spell amulets for processing. Tatsuya confirms Mikihiko can use sense tuning for enhanced vision. They continue strategy meetings late into the night. Afterwards, Tatsuya begins coding CADs as Azusa observes him rewriting Yoshida's spells, realizing he's not just rearranging, but improving the magic, leaving her speechless. She realizes he's beyond high school level and must be the infamous Silver. The next day brings the first match between 8th High and First High. Everyone's confused by Leo's sword and how an engineer is participating, but Masaki and Cardinal George watch with intrigue. The match begins with Mikihiko and Tatsuya rushing into the forest. Mayumi, Mari, and Katsuto reflect 8th High seems advantaged since woods are their home territory. Tatsuya reaches 8th High's monolith with shocking speed and uses weak gravity magic to stun the guard. When the player tries attacking back, Tatsuya uses program demolition, leaving everyone's jaws on the floor. Mayumi explains it's the strongest counter magic in use that almost nobody can perform. It uses compressed science to destroy magic sequences. Mari speculates Tatsuya nullified the magic during the bus accident, and Mayumi agrees. Tatsuya opens the monolith and withdraws while Leo uses the mini-communicator armament CAD to knock out the attacking 8th High player. As Leo takes down one player, Mikihiko traps the third using spirit magic spell Echo Maze, leaving him lost in the woods. Meanwhile, Tatsuya lures the remaining player away from the monolith and sets a trap using magic activation as bait while hiding in a tree. He uses weak resonance to stun the player and rushes back to enter the code, winning the match. Masaki and George discuss the match, with George concluding Tatsuya's very experienced at combat but has weak magic, so his combat skills need monitoring. In an open shootout, they'd win. At First High's tent, Miyuki gives Tatsuya a shoulder massage while being all freaky, leaving Mikihiko flustered. Miyuki teases him for being shy, but the cozy sibling atmosphere makes him more embarrassed. Mayumi and Azusa arrive announcing the next match is on the urban stage. Second match begins on the same field as yesterday's accident. Tatsuya jumps rooftop to rooftop into enemy territory carrying one of Mikihiko's spirits. The spirit activates to scout for the monolith, while Leo battles two players, neutralizing one and forcing the other to withdraw. Mikihiko finds the monolith and guides Tatsuya, who launches a surprise attack on the defender. Opening the monolith from 2 floors up, he allows Mikihiko to read the code, winning the match. In the stands, Mizuki feels relieved while Erika notices Mikihiko's back to his old self from before the incident. Fujibayashi and Yamanaka from Tatsuya's unit discuss how much he's holding back, not even using elemental sight. Fujibayashi points out it's even higher profile than decomposition and a Yotsuba secret. He won't be able to hold back against Crimson Prince and Cardinal George. At the hotel, the Shibs overhear Erika berating her older brother for abandoning duties for his girlfriend Mari. Erika storms off, running into the siblings. They talk, ending with Erika calling Miyuki out on her freaky brother complex. Tatsuya watches Masaki's semi-final against 8th High on the quarry stage to gather intel. However, Masaki goes out alone and advances in the open. 8th High players launch spell after spell, but his interference armor blocks everything while he uses overwhelming force to subdue the entire team. In 1st High's tent, Mayumi notices the style resembles Jumonji's, and Katsudo points out it's a challenge to Shiba, which he will accept. Tatsuya realizes it's their best winning chance and is impressed by Kichijuji's strategy. Leo and Mikihiko feel overwhelmed by the spectacle since they hadn't seen others' abilities. Tatsuya theorizes Kichijuji will use Invisible Bullet given his weight-type magic specialization. He reveals Kichijuji is Cardinal George, who discovered a cardinal code at 13. The canyon fills with Mikihiko's magical fog during the second semi-final, inhibiting 9th High players and allowing Tatsuya to approach unhindered and open the enemy Harukalith. Mikihiko uses spirits to read the code, ending in 1st High victory without a single battle. With 2 hours until the final, Mikihiko goes to the hotel roof to absorb prana, bumping into Erika. She tells him he's recovered from the accident and is stronger than ever. Tatsuya meets Haruka-sensei, who delivers a case from Kokharukai. He offers her money for no head dragon intel as insurance. She asks for a day. At 1st High's tent, Tatsuya reveals the case contains a cloak and mantle for the final. Tatsuya explains the cloak and mantle contain engraved magic circles that'll help in the final. Mayumi tells him not to overdo it since they already scored enough rookie division points for overall victory. Outside, Tatsuya practices martial arts while thinking about the match and all the magic he needs to hide. Miyuki brings him a towel, saying she has faith he'll never lose to anyone. Realizing she wants him to win, Tatsuya decides he cannot lose. Players take the field for the final, and the audience is perplexed by 1st High's attire. Mizuki sees Mikihiko surrounded by spirits. 3rd High realizes the mantle and cloak likely counter Invisible Bullet, but remains confident in their plan of Masaki taking Tatsuya, while Kichijuji flanks and takes the Harukalith. The match begins with Masaki using a specialized CAD, showing offensive intent. He uses air compression for long-range attacks, while Tatsuya counters with Gram Demolition. They advance on each other, and the audience is awed by Tatsuya's skills under pressure. Mayumi and Katsudo realize it'll be harder to attack the closer he gets to Ichiju. Kichijuji makes his move, beginning to flank. Tatsuya starts closing the final 50 meters to Ichiju. At this range, he's forced to use elemental sight to counter the fierce offense. Leo blocks Kichijuji with the solidified mantle. Taking aim at Yoshida, the cloak uses genjutsu and blocks his attack. Leo attacks Kichijuji, who can't do anything to escape. Kichijuji's about to be eliminated when Masaki hits Leo with a spell, taking him down. Kichijuji uses gravity magic on Mikihiko, pinning him. Masaki turns back to Tatsuya, finding he's closed the distance instantly. Panicking, he launches a full-strength illegal over-attack at Tatsuya. Tatsuya cancels most but takes 2 direct hits and gets blown toward Masaki, who's panicking over using lethal force. Tatsuya's regeneration ability auto-activates, fully reviving him instantly, allowing him to land on his feet and continue the attack against shocked Masaki. He unleashes a spell by clicking his fingers at point-blank range, and Ichiju falls. Back at 1st High's tent, Mayumi tries making sense of what happened. Ichihara states he used sound amplification to knock out Ichiju. Mayumi notes Tatsuya should have lethal wounds, but Jumonji dismisses it as martial arts toughness. In the audience, Fujibayashi and Yamanaka discuss what happened and agree not to notice the regeneration use. They discuss flash casting, where magic is called from memory rather than CADs. On the field, Kichijuji's shocked by Ichiju's loss and nearly gets eliminated by Yoshida, who's inspired by Tatsuya and aims to bring down the Cardinal. Using Tatsuya's advice, Mikihiko launches a 5-spell combination attack on Kichijuji and overwhelms him. Left exhausted, Mikihiko's open to the final third high player's attack. Leo blocks at the last second and eliminates the final player, sealing victory. Winners return to audience cheers and Miyuki's tears of joy. Tatsuya jokes about Leo stealing spotlight at the end. Mikihiko's shocked by Leo's durability, having gotten up after taking Ichiju's hit with no defenses. In First High's tent, Mayumi gives the girls a pep talk for Mirage Bat since with their 140-point lead, the competition can be won tomorrow. Tatsuya begins tuning CADs and gets scolded for overdoing it while injured. In Chinatown, the local no-head dragon leaders panic over results since they will lose 100 million in bets. Fearing consequences for their failure, they plot forcing all First High competitors to drop out. Tatsuya observes the weather, commenting it's good for Mirage Bat, but feels like a coming storm harbinger. Miyuki worries, but Tatsuya promises protection. In the first match, Kobayakawa's up for First High and leads after round 1. In the audience, Mizuki removes her glasses to watch for sabotage while others worry, but Mikihiko maintains a barrier for her comfort. Erika teases them over Mikihiko, saying he'll protect Mizuki. The second round begins, but Kobayakawa's CAD shorts out and she falls from the air, getting caught just before hitting the ground. Her engineer Hirakawa breaks down, thinking it's her fault. Tatsuya realizes Kobayakawa will likely lose her magical abilities over this accident. Mizuki calls, telling him she saw spirit magic bursting from the CAD before failure. Tatsuya thanks her, and bringing Miyuki's CAD for inspection before her match, Tatsuya spots magic being inserted into the device and drags the official over the counter, throwing him down in rage. Security rushes in as Tatsuya demands to know what the official implanted and who he's working with. Answered with silence, Tatsuya is about to execute the man when Kururetsu arrives. Tatsuya apologizes and explains the saboteur situation. Kudu recognizes electron silkworms have been implanted and demands explanations from both the saboteur and committee for this scandal. He advises using a backup CAD and asks to speak with Tatsuya later. News of Tatsuya's violent outburst reaches First High's tent before him, making everyone shake in their boots. Miyuki's upset Tatsuya got angry for her. He consoles her, reminding her it's her spotlight day, so she shouldn't cry. Mayumi breaks the cozy mood, joking that Tatsuya has a sister complex. Miyuki's match begins with a good start, but she's being marked by Matsui, one of the favorites, so only reaches second place in round 1. She turns it around in round 2, but maintains only a slim lead. Wanting to win, Miyuki asks if she can use their secret weapon. Tatsuya agrees and hands over the second CAD. Shizuku notices the change, but only Hanoka knows what the secret weapon is. Finally, round 3 starts with Matsui scoring first, but Miyuki accelerates past her and stays airborne, racking up points continuously. The audience is shocked, slowly realizing Miyuki's using Taurus Silver's flight magic. She scores an overwhelming victory. The no-head dragon leaders, hearing this, order a massacre using generator number 17. Before he can send anyone to spectator mode, he's intercepted by Yanagi of the independent magic-equipped military battalion and thrown from the stadium. Yanagi confirms the attacker is an augmented human, and with Fujibayashi and Sanada's help, they quickly take care of the generator. Miyuki joins Tatsuya in his room for lunch, and he comments he's been too busy to spend time with her and asks what she wants. She requests he stay while she rests for the Mirage Bat final. While she sleeps, Tatsuya reflects that before 3 years ago they had no real contact. But despite that, his one remaining emotion is love for Miyuki. He gets a message from Fujibayashi about the attempted massacre. The final begins with all competitors using flight magic. Tatsuya suspected the committee might leak the sequence, and Mayumi's blowing steam from her ears over the fact that safety was not prioritized over winning. He tells her not to worry, as there's a safety feature. The other contestants can't keep up with Miyuki at all. The first runs out of science and nearly falls when safety activates, bringing her safely to ground. Inspired by Tatsuya's gaze, Miyuki dominates the match until all other competitors retire before completion, leaving her as the last standing. After the match, the team celebrates Miyuki's win, but she mentions Tatsuya retired early from tiredness. Actually, Tatsuya meets Haruka and buys no head dragon leadership intel to think up his next move, and Haruka's shocked by the payment amount and worries, asking if this is just insurance, which Tatsuya confirms. After Haruka leaves, Tatsuya immediately meets Fujibayashi at her car. He tells her Haruka's with public security, inputs map data, and they head out. Meanwhile, Kururetsu meets Major Kazama to discuss Tatsuya, whom he knows through the Yotsuba. Kudu asks if it's regrettable since Tatsuya and Masaki could both be future pillars of Japan's military. Kazuma calls out Kudu wanting to weaken the increasingly powerful Yotsuba. He points out Tatsuya's already vital to his unit and, unlike Masaki, operates on a strategic level. Tatsuya and Fujibayashi arrive at Yokohama Bay Hills Tower. She uses magic to hack doors and security cameras covering the operation, and they head to the roof. At the Chinatown Hotel, no head dragon leaders panic and prepare to leave, planning to assassinate Tatsuya in reprisal, but finding no information on him, meaning someone very high up deleted his data. On the tower roof, Tatsuya discusses the situation with Fujibayashi. Taking aim at a generator in the hideout, he reflects on how only his love for Miyuki separates them. He pulls the trigger, disabling the room's protections along with a wall section before disintegrating the generator. Then he calls the room's telephone, and Tatsuya greets the no-head dragon branch leaders as he disintegrates another generator with trident. One man tries aiming with a sniper rifle, but the lens shatters with magic. The last two generators get disintegrated next. Another tries calling for help but finds his phone hacked. Tatsuya takes care of the sniper, then one guy trying to flee. Douglas Huang attempts negotiating, promising withdrawal from Japan. Tatsuya questions him about the syndicate's boss while executing another leader. Huang gives the boss's name and location in desperation, and Tatsuya kills another leader, leaving only Huang alive. In his final moments, Huang realizes the spell is Demon's Right as Tatsuya eliminates him too. The next day, some soldiers debrief with Tatsuya, who thanks them for their help. Sanada points out they needed stopping due to manufacturing sorcery boosters, which uses magicians as actual components. Tatsuya gets dismissed and joins Miyuki in the stands to watch the Monolith Code semifinal with the first high team led by Jumonji. In the match, Hattori rushes the enemy and unleashes a torrent of attacks to overwhelm them while Jumonji defends with phalanx and Tatsumi delivers finishing blows, ending with a first high win. In the final, however, under orders from the clan meeting, Jumonji launches a solo attack and uses phalanx to overwhelm Third High's team single-handedly, scoring the W completely alone. After the rewards ceremony, everyone participates in an after-party. Miyuki gets surrounded by boys and Masaki makes his move but gets greeted by Tatsuya instead. Initially rude, Masaki realizes they're siblings when he sees Miyuki's annoyance. Tatsuya tells Masaki to dance with Miyuki and then gets roped into dancing with Haruka, Shizuku, and finally Mayumi, whose wild unga-bunga moves leave him exhausted. Then, Jumonji takes Tatsuya aside and asks if he's from the 10 Master Clans. When Tatsuya says no, Jumonji suggests marrying into the Saigusa. Tatsuya decides Jumonji, not just from his magic but many other aspects, is his natural enemy. Miyuki arrives to collect Tatsuya and requests they dance the last dance together outside. Tatsuya reflects that despite the world and stars around them, he only sees Miyuki. Finally, summer break hits, and Shizuku and Honoka are plotting harder than Eren Yeager, preparing to make the worst decisions known to mankind. Their master plan is to get Honoka alone with Tatsuya so she can confess her feelings, because nothing says romance like coordinated wingman tactics. The Shiba siblings roll up to the docks where they bump into Shizuku's dad, Ushio. After some quick introductions that nobody asked for, they're off to the Kitayama private island because apparently normal people don't vacation at regular beaches. At this bougie private beach, Leo and Mikihiko decide to have a swimming contest because toxic masculinity never takes a day off. Meanwhile, Tatsuya's chilling on the sand while the girls are living their best beach life in the water. Erika, being the chaos agent she is, rallies the girls to drag Tatsuya into the ocean. Then Tatsuya removes his shirt, and suddenly everyone's acting like they've never seen scars before. The girls are shook, standing there with their jaws on the sand. Miyuki immediately wraps her arm around her brother like a human shield, while Honoka follows suit, and they all head to the water because trauma bonding is the new black. Later, Tatsuya's having his peaceful moment when someone screams. Harukaka's apparently drowning, so he jumps in to rescue her despite her fighting him off, and it turns out Homegirl had a wardrobe malfunction and is basically flashing her milkers at everyone. Tatsuya, being the gentleman he pretends to be, looks away faster than someone closing an embarrassing browser tab. Back on the beach, Hanoka's crying harder than someone who just watched the end of Your Lie in April, and the squad is trying to calm her down when Shizuku drops the suggestion that Hanoka should make Tatsuya spend the entire day with her as an apology, even though she was just snaking out an emotional manipulation tactic out of her hoo-ha. Hanoka is having the time of her life with Tatsuya while everyone else is sitting in the world's most awkward silence. The boys return and immediately notice Tatsuya's missing, so Mikihiko makes some innocent comment about how those two seem to be enjoying themselves, and suddenly, Miyuki's offering frozen fruits with the energy of someone about to commit war crimes. Shizuku pulls Miyuki aside for some real talk about her relationship with Tatsuya. Miyuki drops the bombshell that she literally died 3 years ago, which explains why she's completely devoted to her brother but insists it's not romantic. Shizuku's sitting there like she just got hit by a truck full of family drama. Meanwhile, Hanoka finally gets Tatsuya alone on the beach and confesses her feelings, but plot twist, Tatsuya hits her with the "I don't have emotions due to an accident" card and basically friend-zones her into the next dimension. Hanoka, being the persistent queen she is, decides she'll keep liking him until she finds someone else because rejection is just a suggestion if you are delusional enough. The next day rolls around and things have settled into a new normal where Miyuki and Hanoka are basically competing for Tatsuya's attention like he's the last slice of pizza at a party. After the 9 schools competition completely destroyed his confidence, Murasaki Shun is training so hard that his classmate Takegawa is genuinely concerned. After a heated argument, he heads to the city to clear his head since nothing says mental health break like urban wandering. Downtown, he spots this gorgeous woman being followed by some sketchy dude, so his hero complex kicks in and he decides to play bodyguard. The situation escalates when 6 men jump her, and Murasaki goes full action hero, taking out 5 of them instantly. The 6th guy's about to shoot him when the girl grabs his arm, throwing off his aim long enough for Murasaki to knock him out cold. They bolt to the station where she introduces herself as Ling Richardson, an American college student. Murasaki, clearly having watched too many movies, volunteers to be her personal bodyguard until she can meet whoever she's supposed to meet. While waiting for details about her mysterious contact, Ling and Murasaki grab food and have the most casual conversation considering they just escaped a kidnapping attempt. After she gets a message, they head toward Rainbow Bridge because apparently all dramatic confrontations happen at iconic locations. On the way, some thugs decide to harass them in a park. Murasaki provokes them, and the lead thug thinks he's about to school some weak magician who can't use magic in public. Wrong move. Murasaki drops him with pure hand-to-hand combat, but when he tries to leave, Ling gets upset. The other thugs jump in, so Murasaki switches to magic and knocks them all out. Ling's now, giving Murasaki grief about not finding a peaceful solution, and he explains he's not strong enough to take risks with diplomacy. Their heart-to-heart gets interrupted when CIB agents show up, demanding he hand Ling over. The Cabinet Central Information Bureau officers have Murasaki completely surrounded, acting like they own the place. They want to take over Ling's protection and tell him to stop interfering with official business. Murasaki asks Ling what she wants, and when she refuses to go with them, he backs her play because apparently he takes the bodyguard job seriously. The agents pull weapons, so Murasaki grabs Ling and literally jumps over a guardrail, using magic to glide down to a dock like they're in some action movie. He takes out 2 magicians among the officers, but one blocks his attack and counters while another shoots a tranquilizer dart. Murasaki blocks the dart but gets knocked into the water. The officers rush Ling thinking she's defenseless, but Murasaki explodes out of the water like some aquatic superhero and knocks them all out before collapsing. The magic that was keeping people from noticing the fight dissipates, and suddenly civilians can see Murasaki hurt and surrounded by unconscious officers. But since he's a magician, they're too scared to help because prejudice runs deep. Ling's boat finally shows up, and she's devastated seeing Murasaki hurt. She asks why he went so far to help her, and he suggests maybe magicians really are just fighting tools who enjoy violence. Ling breaks down crying, telling him he's more human than all the bystanders who just watched him suffer, and apologizes for her anti-magician bias. On the boat, Ling meets with her allies who want to retaliate against Japan for how she was treated. But she refuses because Murasaki's kindness more than made up for the government's hostility. However, the plot twist is that Ling's actually the new head of the No-Head Dragon Crime Syndicate, because Girlie wants to graduate with organized crime syndicate on her extracurriculars. The next day, Murasaki finds Takigawa in the club room, apologizing for being too harsh. He thanks her for the scolding since it helped him calm down, which completely throws her off guard. Freshman Amelia Amy Akechi Goldie is waiting outside Wonderland theme park, having arrived 30 minutes early because her grandmother called at 5 a.m. from Europe. The call was weird enough, with Grandma suggesting she study abroad, but now she's stuck waiting for her friends like some abandoned puppy. Satomi Subaru and Sakurakuji Akaha finally show up together, and after some typical friend banter, they enter the park ready to have the most basic theme park experience ever. Aimi manages to get separated from her friends and lost in a hedge maze because of course she does. While she's on the phone with Subaru discussing using magic to find each other, Akaha shuts that down real quick, reminding them about magic restrictions and potential punishment. They agree to meet at a visible tower, but a shadowy figure appears behind Amy because this day wasn't creepy enough. While Subaru and Akaha casually stroll toward their meeting point, Aimi's having a full panic attack in the maze. She reaches a dead end and decides to blast through the hedge with magic, but a harlequin stops her. After some initial nervousness, he removes his mask, revealing Tomitsuka Hagan, her fourth-ranked classmate. Aimi's confused why someone so academically successful is working at a theme park instead of making bank as a professional magician, and Tomitsuka mentions that it's family-related, since everyone has baggage they can't check in. When Amy complains about the maze, Tomitsuka realizes something's wrong, since this area shouldn't be open to the public. He gives her permission to destroy a hedge, but when she blows a hole in it and tries to cross, he stops her. The hedge is magic-supported and literally attacks when he tests it, forcing him to use a defensive spell that Aimi recognizes as Program Demolition. She asks about it, but Tomitsuka explains his version is different since he can't do ranged attacks, which explains his Range 0 nickname. Before they can move, men in suits surround them, demanding the magic bullet Tathlum spell that Aimi's grandmother taught her. Aimi refuses to cooperate, so the suited men pull knives like this is some kind of corporate gang war. Tomitsuka immediately goes into action mode, closing the distance and unleashing a dance-like fighting technique that takes them down before they can react. While they're focused on him, Aimi uses her magic bullet Tathlum with playing cards, taking out the remaining attackers non-lethally. Only the leader's left standing, completely confused and blurting out that the technique should need round shells. Aimi points out that the medium is personal choice and deduces from his description that their employer is her second cousin. Tomitsuka mentions the leader passed out while she was explaining because even villains can't handle family drama. With the fight over, Aimi apologizes for dragging Tomitsuka into this mess. He points out he's staff, so protecting customers is literally his job. Plus, he got to see an interesting technique. Aimi gets threatening because it's a secret family technique, but Tomitsuka promises silence in exchange for her not mentioning his dance fighting style. They pinky swear on their mutual secrecy, and Aimi remembers to cover her tracks by setting the cards on fire, reducing them to ash and cauterizing the wounds they caused. She leaves cleanup to Tomitsuka and finally meets up with her friends at the tower, eating crepes while her mind wanders back to her mysterious classmate. Kichijuji bumps into his friend Ichiju Masaki leaving third high, and they walk home together. Masaki invites him over for dinner, and when they arrive, they encounter Akan, Masaki's elder sister, who enthusiastically greets her future hubby boy toy before heading off on an errand. In Masaki's room, they play combat training games until Masaki pauses to discuss Kichijuji's strategies, which are giving him trouble. Kichijuji points out these are the same tactics that Shiba Tatsuya used. They analyze the techniques, agreeing Masaki's better suited for direct approaches, but needs to learn counters. The conversation shifts to the first high team's self-destruction and how Masaki closing on Tatsuya was a strategic mistake. Akane crashes their discussion with iced tea and makes a fuss over Kichijuji. After she leaves, Masaki apologizes and mentions his crush on Shiba Miyuki while lamenting that she's Tatsuya's sister. Trying to change the subject, Kichijuji comments that Akane isn't that bad, which makes Masaki panic, thinking his friend wants to make a move on his sister. He begs Kichijuji to at least wait until she's in middle school, causing Kichijuji to strongly deny being a pervy loli enthusiast. When asked about progress since dancing with Miyuki, Masaki says he won't pursue her until he defeats her brother. Kichijuji agrees to help just as Akane invades the room again. Akane leads them to dinner where they join Masaki's second sister Ruri and mother Midori. The father, Ichiju Guki, is still working because success requires sacrifice. Akane monopolizes the conversation with Kichijuji until Masaki interrupts, leading her to tease that friendship is nothing against love's power. She suggests Masaki bag a baddie before giving relationship advice, which doesn't go over well with her brother. The conversation moves to Kichijuji moving into their spare room, but he's uncomfortable imposing on the family and declines. He reflects on meeting Masaki and how their friendship developed since that day in Sado when Masaki rescued him. After dinner, Akane asks Kichijuji to tutor her, and he agrees to visit weekly. Outside, Masaki declares he doesn't need an advisor because he has Kichijuji as a friend. Leaving embarrassed but determined, Kichijuji resolves to be worthy of Masaki's trust. The Shiba siblings enjoy a peaceful day at home over iced coffee, reflecting on their summer's ups and downs. Tatsuya compliments Miyuki's dress, one he bought her earlier that month, triggering a flashback to August 13th when she visited his workroom. He had asked what reward she wanted for showcasing the FLT flight device and winning Mirage Bat at the 9 Schools competition. She requested a dress, so they went shopping the next day. Arriving arm in arm at a high-class boutique, Miyuki initially hesitates seeing the prices, but Tatsuya assures her it's fine. While she tries on dresses, an employee approaches Tatsuya about having Miyuki model their merchandise. He forbids photography but agrees to let her leave wearing one dress in exchange for a discount. Miyuki models each dress for Tatsuya's feedback, receiving unreserved praise until the third, more risque option. His response leaves both Miyuki and the staff completely embarrassed. Back in the present, Miyuki mentions not expecting 3 dresses. Tatsuya explains he didn't have her try 21 dresses for nothing and wishes they could have shopped more. Returning to August 14th, Miyuki's one-woman fashion show draws customers into the store. She reaches the final dress and, after positive feedback, requests it with a smile no man could resist. Tatsuya orders 2 more dresses for delivery, and she leaves wearing the new dresses agreed, inspiring other boyfriends to loosen their wallets. The siblings continue shopping like a young couple until breaking for lunch at an Italian restaurant. Their entrance causes a stir, and Tatsuya acts like the perfect gentleman while they're seated. Another couple arrives, an actress and a young man who turn out to be scouting talent. The producer approaches their table despite Miyuki's obvious annoyance and gets the cold shoulder when trying to recruit her. When the pushy man moves to touch Miyuki, Tatsuya grabs his hand and uses a pressure point technique to inflict pain. The actress leaves in annoyance while staff ask the man to leave. The manager apologizes for the slow response and insists on a free meal. The siblings enjoy an exquisite lunch ending with cake and long spoons for feeding each other, much to Miyuki's delight. Despite the manager's offer, Tatsuya insists on paying as they leave. Outside, the producer blocks their path with 4 goons, attempting intimidation that fails spectacularly. When Tatsuya asks him to leave, the producer launches into an anti-magician tirade. Tatsuya raises his hand, showing he won't need a CAD, prompting the goons to pull knives and attack. They're incapacitated with martial arts in seconds, while the producer begins panicking as police arrive to arrest all 5 men. 2 officers speak with the siblings and ask for Miyuki's autograph because apparently even law enforcement are fans. The next day, the Shiba siblings visit the bank and take a number. Sitting nearby is a mother with 2 lively children who aren't being disruptive. Just as the mother's number is called, 4 bank robbers storm in. One demands money while another hits the emergency switch, dropping a bulletproof barrier over the cashiers. The little girl starts crying, and when her mother tries to intervene, a robber holds her at gunpoint while another storms over to silence the child. The boy tries to protect his sister, but as the man prepares to punch him, his arm freezes. Confused, the robbers find their feet frozen in place and turn to see an angry Miyuki. One pulls free of his shoes and tries to run, but Tatsuya trips him as police arrive to arrest the men. After the arrests, the mother calms her children, and they thank Miyuki. She compliments the boy for being a great big brother while the manager apologizes and takes them to a back room for Tatsuya to update his account ID. The siblings head home hand in hand, and the next day they meet their friends heading to campus for the start of the second semester. Finally, September hits, and First High's autumn semester kicks off with Mayumi and the student council crew having lunch while discussing their upcoming resignations. The presidential election comes up, and Ichihara drops the bomb that it's basically a formality between Azusa and Vice President Hattori, except Azusa makes it crystal clear she wants nothing to do with running for council this year. Over at the Public Morals Committee headquarters, Tatsuya finds most members present despite no meeting being called. Mari explains a new member, Kanen, is starting, and assigns her to patrol with Tatsuya since he has the highest incident and arrest stats on the committee. On patrol, Kanen insists on checking the gymnasiums where they meet Kirihara and Sayaka from the sword clubs. When Tatsuya introduces Kanen as the new committee member, Kirihara immediately assumes she's being groomed as the next chairperson. Kirihara makes some comment that sets Kanen off, and just as she's about to blast him with magic, Tatsuya stops her with a ninjutsu technique. He reminds her that abusing committee authority leads to harsher punishments. The conversation shifts to elections, revealing that Jumonji asked Hattori to take over the club activities group instead of running for student council, meaning both original candidates have bailed. After school at a cafe, the Shiba siblings meet their friends to discuss the election chaos. They analyze how Nakaju is talented but unreliable, while Hattori's switching to club management. Erika suggests Miyuki run for president, which Mizuki immediately supports, but then Mikihiko throws out Tatsuya's name and suddenly all the Class 1A girls are losing their minds over the idea. A week later, Mikihiko storms into class asking Tatsuya if the rumor about him running for president is true. Tatsuya denies it and asks where he heard this nonsense, but Mikihiko, Leo, Erika, and Mizuki all confirm they've heard it from multiple sources. Tatsuya visits Haruka-sensei for a consultation and learns the rumor started among teachers as a discussion about who should run, then somehow morphed into Tatsuya actually running. Haruka explains the staff hold him in high regard for resolving the Blanche incident, which baffles Tatsuya about why teachers would want him as president. Mayumi and Ichihara visit Tatsuya's class requesting a meeting, and Tatsuya agrees to avoid Mayumi causing a scene. In the student council room, Mayumi brings up the election, and Tatsuya immediately deduces they want him to convince Miyuki to run. He goes on the offensive, pointing out she's too young and needs to control her magic better before taking such a role. Mayumi explains they need someone to recommend to avoid a repeat of 4 years ago when a democratic election devolved into magical firefights with severe injuries. Tatsuya counters by offering to convince Nakaju to run instead. After school, Tatsuya and Miyuki corner Nakaju as she's trying to escape Mayumi. Tatsuya's pushiness causes other girls to gossip, irritating Miyuki, who starts emitting an ominous aura. Realizing resistance is futile, Nakaju agrees to go with them like a suspect heading for questioning. At a cafe, they discuss Nakaju's participation in the election. She's reluctant until Tatsuya guilt-trips her about what happened 3 years ago while Miyuki provides emotional support. Then Tatsuya mentions the new silver flight device from FLT and offers to give her the spare test model as an inauguration present. Nakaju explodes with excitement and vows to win no matter the opposition. During the last week of September, the student council discusses how quiet school has been despite the upcoming election, with Nakaju as the only candidate. They're concerned about potential trouble at the General Assembly, especially after Mari brings up Mayumi's declaration from spring. Tatsuya, warned by Haruka-sensei, agrees with Miyuki that the opposition might get reckless, urging Mayumi to be cautious. Mari asks the Shiba siblings to walk her home, explaining that while Mayumi is safe at school since she's never alone, she always goes home solo, making it easier to stage an accident. With Hattori busy, the siblings are her only option for protection. The night before the election, the student council officers make final preparations. Mayumi dismisses the others, but Miyuki stays since she can't reach Tatsuya. When Tatsuya finally arrives, Miyuki invites Mayumi to walk to the station with them. Mayumi asks if they're doing this at Mari's request, and Miyuki confesses they are. Mayumi explains she has a bodyguard at the station and walks alone because as a member of the 10 master clans, she doesn't want to drag others into danger. She admits wanting to walk with the Shiba siblings because meeting them was the highlight of her high school memories, leaving Miyuki embarrassed. At home, Mayumi reflects on the siblings while bathing, noting that despite her own attractiveness, she can't compete with Miyuki's inhuman beauty. She also ponders Tatsuya's inexplicable nature with his C-rank magic power yet magical combat ability exceeding A rank. Election day arrives, and Mari asks Tatsuya about escorting Mayumi home. He reports she was fine with her fan club present, but he was attacked 3 times after she left. In the auditorium, Mayumi gives her speech proposing to allow Course 2 students to join the student council. Asano from Class 3B takes the podium to oppose the proposal, implying it's designed to benefit a specific person rather than promote equality. Mayumi clarifies she won't appoint new officers or interfere with the new president, but Asano pushes further by insinuating Azusa wants someone specific. When the crowd favors Mayumi, Asano directly accuses her of favoritism toward Tatsuya, citing their walk home together, which embarrasses Mayumi. Miyuki immediately steps in, pointing out that Asano's comment is slander without proof, and orders her to leave with such intensity that the crowd is awed. Hattori amends Miyuki's order, having Asano simply return to her seat. With the opposition defeated, the motion passes by majority. Azusa gives her election speech to crowd adoration, resembling an idol concert. When she mentions recruiting from both courses, opposition members start heckling, angering her supporters, and escalating to a full brawl in the audience. Just as the Public Morals Committee prepares to intervene, someone makes an extremely crude remark about Tatsuya and Nakaju. A voice cuts across the auditorium, plunging the room into stunned silence. On stage, a furious Miyuki stands at the center of an impossible science storm that begins freezing the room. The student council realizes they need to stop her, but Tatsuya jumps in and hugs her, suppressing her rampaging magic instantly and shocking everyone present. The results come in the next day with Nakaju winning, but unexpectedly, Miyuki receives the most votes with Tatsuya coming in third despite neither running. Miyuki is mortified by nicknames like Snow Queen and Her Majesty Queen Shiba Miyuki, misunderstanding their meaning. She gets upset until Tatsuya calms her down in their usual couple-like manner. With the crisis averted, Azusa thanks Mayumi for her help, and Mayumi hands over leadership to President Nakaju. That's it for today's video. If you watched till the end, comment down below, Her Majesty Queen Miyuki to confuse the normies. If you enjoy anime recaps like this, don't forget to check out this video right here.